Welcome, everyone, to our You've Got What It Takes, Use It webinar. My name's Jim Pannos. I'm the president of Pannos Marketing. We are a full-service marketing firm and serving primarily the financial services industry. Actually, about 98% of our business is doing that. And I'm a former banker. And speaking of current bankers, I am delighted to have Joann Marsili joining me today on this webinar. And there's no one I can think of that could do a better job discussing this topic than Joann. So Joann, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Joann Marsili. I'm an Executive Vice President, Chief Growth and Client Experience Officer for Fidelity Bank out of Leominster, Massachusetts. I have been in the banking industry for about 21 years, but I've been a professional marketer my whole life. I have worked for only Fidelity banks, which is kind of the funny thing. So I just go around the country working for Fidelity banks. No, not really. But my role at this Fidelity bank is marketing and sales. Community banking reports to me, deposit operations reports to me, business services, and product and innovation and digital delivery. So digital transformation is kind of under my realm as well. So a little bit of everything, but mostly towards growing the bank.
Thanks, Joann. And Joann also is one of the longtime we wouldn't call it a teacher. What would you be at the ABA School of Bank Marketing down this year? It's been there for the last however many years down at Emory College in Atlanta, but you've been teaching for at least 10 years, I think, there, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been teaching for quite a while. I teach the return on investment class, so it's math class for marketers. It's pretty basically, but it's a really cool class because it shows you how to measure the return on your investment moving forward. So that's at American Banking Association's School of Bank Marketing, which is in April.
That's right. And we'll be talking probably a little bit of ROI in a short time. But in kicking this off, one thing, I have some props because I get these all the time, and I'm sure that maybe a few of you have seen these. $600 Chase, this one's Santander. Chase didn't think 600 was enough, and so they decided to go to 900. It's kind of like airline seats, if you can give up your seat, we're going to give you a voucher. Now, next thing you know, they're giving you $5,000. Oh, and then Citizen says, not to be beat, I want to give you $1,000. So my question is, how is this impacting the banking industry, Joann? And should it at the branch level or at the retail level or what have you? And when I'm using banking, I'm using a small b for those credit unions that may be joining us as well. I don't want you to think I'm forgetting you, but I think that it's something that banks worry about when they see all of these offers being thrown around, and community banks and they're going, we can't pay that much. What do you think?
It's interesting because I probably play devil's advocate a little bit with that. I do think that we as marketers need to drive people to the branch. We need to use all the tools in our toolbox, and sometimes we have more than others, and we don't want to necessarily compete on rate because that can go downhill pretty quickly. So as bankers, we're used to saying, invest your money, over time it'll grow. Well, that's what these offers are to me. If you're spending $500, $600 to get more checking account customers, that could be a good thing if you are onboarding them correctly and you have a good retention program and you're broadening and deepening the conversation with them so that they are lifelong customers. It used to be, and I think it's probably shorter now, it used to be that the lifetime value of a customer is measured over 7 years. And a consumer customer could have, upwards average balance is 6,000, 7,000, maybe less. But the point is, if you're attracting the right person and you're attracting them with the right offers, you should spend a little bit to gain. Marketing is an investment in the future. It's not a return today, it's a return tomorrow. And that return could happen over time. So I think that some of those offers, if they're done correctly, can be a well thought out campaign for most banks. And I think sometimes we think about it, oh, well, we can't spend that money. It's just flying out the window. But if you go back and you measure and you make sure that you're doing the right things, you will find that that is a great investment in the future of your bank.
It's a great point. And, we talked a little bit about ROI earlier, and I had done some research for a couple of clients as far as what the value of a checking account is, because if we're going to do a promotion for it with digital and some traditional and a number of other areas, whether it's email marketing or direct mail, what have you, you start looking at what an annual value of a checking account is, right? I mean, and I did a little research for them, and I found out through a few different consulting companies that work specifically in banking that it ranges anywhere from $250 to $500 an account per year. And the average life of an adult checking account is anywhere from 13 to 21 years. So you do that math and figure how many you need to just break even. Not you break even with every customer that comes in, you're breaking even on average, or making a significant amount of ROI. So I think what Joann says is just so true, that by doing that, not only are you bringing money in over time for the bank and making your marketing an investment, not an expense, but you're creating relationships who are going to be with you a long time that you can sell other products to, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and just to kind of go back to one point, those deposit dollars are generally no cost, right?
Right.
So every dollar you can bring in at no cost takes the pressure off your interest expense. And everything that you can do to create fee income with that checking account also takes pressure off interest expense. So it becomes a multiplier to help you grow business.
Absolutely. Yeah, the thin net interest margins that are occurring now in banks are precipitating budget cuts. A lot of times the first place it goes is marketing, unfortunately. I'm not sure how many of you out there have experienced that. I just did a survey with about 30 bankers, bank presidents, CEOs, and found that when I asked them if they had to cut marketing budgets, what were the top three areas they would cut first? And marketing led the charge. Marketing was, I believe, 48% of those that answered the survey said that marketing would be the first one to come be cut. And then after that, there were some other different ones, which doesn't matter. Deposit ops, mortgages right now, because they're not really that going that crazy. That'll change, I'm sure, at some point. But assisting with helping the net interest margin crunch through fee income and expansion of products with clients is an incredible way of assisting and showing that marketing does have value. So Joann, I think where there's so many banks, and the public oftentimes just sees a bank, as a building, as bricks and mortar, or a website, what have you. And how do you differentiate? How do you make your bank memorable so that people know and want to bring their accounts to you, or what have you? It's just, we talk about brand, we talk about rates, we talk about all the things, great offers on accounts. But what is it that makes somebody want to keep coming back to you, do you think?
I think it's a couple things. So one is there is a lack of attention to the client experience. No matter how much we read, it's all about the experience. When you dig down deep into what's going on, in your branches, on your calls with your bankers, you will find that there probably needs to be some deeper attention to how you are interacting with your clients. I also think as community banks, because I'm assuming we're all community banks or community FIs here, right? Is that we have an opportunity in our marketplace. It is the only marketplace we have. We're not worrying about where the money is or where the housing is being built or where the rich areas are. We have a certain geographic area that we have to attend to. And if we have a concerted effort of making sure that we are in the community, we are seen, we're on boards. These are all kind of banking 101, George Bailey-ish, that I think are still so important in the market. Fidelity Bank has something called Life Design, which is basically about giving clarity and confidence to your clients, no matter where you are and wherever they are, in providing good advice, being consultative. In fact, on my desk, right alongside of me, we are doing a book club with a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, which I have told everybody about. And so everybody needs to go out and buy this book because I'm like the biggest devotee of this particular book itself. But it's all about those small things that actually create a memorable experience. And I think we've lost that over COVID. We forgot what we knew. And now it's kind of going back to some of those basics, along with having a really good marketing strategy, being able to execute on it, making sure you are dotting the I's and crossing the T's. You still have to be a good banker. You can't just run, 6% rates all over the place and think you're going to win. It's not going to happen. But as a community organization, you have a great opportunity to really be present and really be part of the community you're trying to build. I used to work with a gentleman who used to say, a vibrant community has a vibrant community bank. And I believe that. And you have probably 100, 200, 300 bankers at your beck and call to make an impression in your community.
That's right. And, one of the things we talked about, I think maybe in the description, was using the fact that you are a community bank, that identity to your advantage. How do you expand that? What are some of the things you can do that might necessarily be sort of outside marketing, although some people will just say, no, that is marketing. You're just going to do it. But just things that you can do throughout the community and making people remember why you're important. Because when the customer or the community or the citizens of that area start thinking of you as a member of the community and not just this big bricks and mortar or website or whatever they use for their online banking and all of that, then that kind of burns a little bit of a reminder in their brain all the time that you are part of the fabric of the organization. So I think that Joanne's spot on with that, and I agree 100%. Kind of shifting gears a little, Joanne, we were talking before we came on, and I'm a former bank marketing director, and Joanne obviously has gone and done it a lot longer than I have. And we were just talking about ALCO committee. And we both had the good fortune of, when we were marketing director of marketing, to be on the ALCO committee. And we're talking about the benefits of it from a community banking perspective and from a marketing perspective and how it helps. Joanne, maybe you can expound on that a little bit, because I think you had a couple of really good points.
Yeah, so I think ALCO is very, very important for a couple of different reasons. One is you can't sell an organization if you don't know how it makes money. And ALCO is de facto pricing, right? It's how money comes in, how to price loans and deposits. It's the largest source of income that a bank has. And if you don't understand how decisions are made through that, it's impossible to be able to position what you're doing to sell the bank, because that's really what we're doing. We're selling the bank. And being part of that committee helps you kind of put things together. Now, sometimes, I mean, especially, and Jim might be able to relate to this, in those early days, they're talking way over you. You don't even know what they're saying because they're using finance terms that I never even understood. But over time, and with a good CFO, they'll sit down with you and they'll teach you exactly what's going on and how you can impact the process. Because the important thing to remember is that all of those loans and deposits have a client attached to them. We're not big investment banks, right? Most community banks, it's about one client at a time. And so all of those loans and deposits have a client attached. That means that the impact to the client on these loans and deposits becomes really important. So that's kind of the first thing. But the second thing is, I think that if you're not invited into ALCO committee, it might just be that people don't realize you want to be part of it. And you might have to actively seek to be invited. You might say, can I just be a fly on the wall? Can I listen to this so that I understand exactly what the bank is doing and so that I can help formulate activities that will help the bank grow? And I think in a lot of cases, they don't even think that marketing wants to be involved, and so that they are not.
Going to, again, a different point, we don't have a whole lot of time today. I think Joann and I could probably sit here and talk everybody's ears off and probably eventually bore you to tears. But one of the things I think people talk about, and it's oftentimes misunderstood, especially at the C-suite level, and that's the power and the importance of branding the organization. Because sometimes, and again, we've run into this a lot as a marketing firm when we're talking to C-suite or talking to people who aren't that interested in marketing, and when we start talking about taking a look at their brand and trying to find a way to really have it stand out and reflect what the bank's personality really is. One of the first things I hear is that we're not changing our logo. No way. Our logo's been there forever. Well, it's another thing altogether, but there's a misconception that a brand and a logo are the same thing. And Joann, I'm not sure if you've run into that at all, but I've run into it a few times. But the key is now, how do we drill down to take that and make that brand in a community bank that may have another half a dozen community banks in it? How do we go ahead and differentiate beyond, it's easy to differentiate from the big banks sometimes, right? You can just say, yeah, well, they're these big impersonal banks, and you come here and you know people, or you go on our website and you can do the same things that those big banks have. So what do you think? What are some of the things we can do?
Well, so I think just the understanding of what brand is, right? Brand is what people think about you when you're not in the room, right? And it's not a logo. It's generally, all the bank, we talk about those loans and deposits having clients behind it. Every building, every bank has people behind it. And hearts and minds is really important. People buy from people they like. People trust those people that they can see on a regular basis. And I know that, people will say, oh, well, Chime has a gazillion accounts and they don't know anybody. But I think in a community bank sense, that's a different animal. And when we try to think about building brand, it's all about, behavioral economics. There is some science out there that, people don't make rational decisions. People make decisions that make them feel good. And being able to interact with those places where you are seen as a person and as a member of your team, that doesn't preclude you from being really good bankers. You have to train really good bankers, because I think we've kind of left that out of the equation a lot of times, where we have really young people who may not know exactly even what a home equity is and how to use it, right? So training your people to be really good, but then having really good conversations, being involved in the community, finding ways to interact. Those old-fashioned Bailey things, I think that they work. I think that they're important. You could have the best strategy in the world, and if you can't execute on it, you're not building brand and you're not building business. So you have to find a way to interact with your particular community that makes sense to your community. And it could be different no matter where it is. It could be that, maybe you have a large homeless population. You have to figure out exactly how to help the community while you're continuing to attract the people who need banking services, because then your name is going to get out. Then people will associate you with good things. And that is touching the heart of people rather than touching the head of people.
Yeah, I think so many people should be able to agree that purchasing anything is more emotional than it is rational.
Mhm.
Um, and that's what you're talking about, and it's so important. And you do have unique personalities in every building, in every one of your branch locations, because as Joann said, there's people inside. Your branch is made up of people, not, the bricks and mortar are important, and the people in the back office of the main office are important, are very important and more important than the buildings they sit in. And I'm a firm believer of that. And I fear sometimes that it just gets lumped into one big bucket. We'll go around and do a lot of discoveries for branding, across the country. And one of the first questions I'll ask is, and this usually I ask it of every group, but when I ask it of the C-suite and I ask it of the senior level managers, I usually get the same answer from all of them, and they all chime in. It's kind of an open discussion, and I'll ask them what their secret sauce is. What is it that makes you different? Our service, everyone's saying our service. And I look at them and say, all right, if I take a 10-minute break and I walk across the street to the community bank across the street and I ask them what sets them apart, what are they going to tell me? This service. Yeah, exactly. So how do you find other things like what Joann was talking about, doing the little things that will not just make your customers or prospects feel good, but make them buy into what you're actually selling. And and I don't mean that to be a fake moniker. You've got to be genuine. If you try to be fake, people are going to see through that in no time. So a genuine, heartfelt way of talking about who you are and how you market yourself is really important, I think. Joann, I know you've done that a few times in your career down at when you were at Fidelity Bank.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we haven't talked about is how data can inform some of those conversations, right? All data is the ability to tell the story to your clients on what they need, and having good data and knowing how to tell the story from the data helps also kind of inform the way you tell your story to your marketplace. It's not one or the other. It's when we're talking about growing a community bank, there's a ton of levers that can be pulled, but it can't just be one. Like, and I think we've all been on the other side of this. Wow, I have this really great new idea. I read it in Financial Brand. And when you look at that really great new idea, you realize you don't have the foundation of even implementing that idea. You have to go back and say, okay, what do I need to do to implement this idea? And is it even in my strategy to execute on? And that's part of the conversation that we as marketers have to have with those people who come up with those great ideas, because you know people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but good ideas are a dime a dozen. You gotta execute on those really good ideas. And it's better to have 5 really good ideas that you can execute on than 20 good ideas that sit on the table and you don't have the ability to execute on. And that's where branding comes in. That's where the data comes in. That's where getting really good bankers, having insightful conversation with your clients, um, being where they are so that you can give really good advice is really important to the whole process. But you have to dig a little bit. It's not an ad. It's never an ad. It's never just Google AdWords. It's never just a website. It's all of those things plus.
And Joanne, you just mentioned websites, and I just want to touch base on that really quick, because a lot of our conversations, in many, you may be, kind of zeroing in a little bit on the actual physical branch sometimes, but there's a lot more to it. And I think I think one of the things we put in the description that not all websites are created equal, if I'm not mistaken, but people will just put up a website and not really worry about its functionality, how easy it is to go through the whole process of whether you have online account opening and online loan applications, and you're able to have a chat feature that you can talk to people back at the branch back and forth. There's all sorts of ways of making it not just this electronic brochure, which again, this survey that I was talking about, of the 28 people who answered the question on this, I asked about the websites, and again, not only were the vast majority of those people, their websites hadn't been refreshed since 2019. Some went back to 2010. They looked at it as many of them, the majority of them looked at it as an online brochure. And these are
Yeah,
CEOs,
yeah.
banking
The
CEOs.
the
With
teaching of the CEO about really what this all means is um also maybe our role in this.
Yeah,
We have to explain to them really what a website is. Your website is your entree into your digital delivery, and it has to be functional, and it has to be thoughtfully laid out. You have to have all the bells and whistles there. I mean, think about, Amazon and how easy it is to navigate in Amazon. Our banking websites have to be exactly the same. We have to, not looking like it, but easy to maneuver through. We have to have chat. We have to have that call center that's prepared to be able to answer those questions. Um, Call centers should be full service bankers. The only thing they can't do is take a cash deposit. They should know ins and outs. And generally, not only are they bankers, but they have some operational hats that they can wear too.
yeah.
And sometimes, if you do it well, your client care center is the uh, really the best trained bankers in the bank. Because eventually, we're all going to see this, that our client care center will end up being the largest branch if we're doing everything right.
Yeah.
Because think about it, right? You might go into a branch 2-3 times a month, but you're probably checking your mobile app and doing a deposit 3-4-5 times more than that. So it is all digital. You have to prepare yourself to be digital. And if your website is still a brochure and your upper management doesn't believe that it's important to invest in it, it's up to us to be able to teach them what they don't know. Because the thing is, we have been learning how to be marketers our whole career, and we read and we listen and we participate, and not everybody can be a marketer. It looks easy from the inside or from the outside, but it's definitely not easy from
Right.
the inside. We all know that, right?
So I've got some statistics that we did with a client, because the marketing director was a bit frustrated that he was getting pushback on a new website. And so we were able to work with that particular bank. They're a 4 branch bank. So it was a little easier to do it, but for a month, the branches counted non-customers coming into the bank. number of non-customers who came into the bank, into their bricks and mortar location. They did it for 1 month. And then we did some analyses on the transactions that were going on there. And then we compared those to their bank's website. Now, while this was all going on, the bank was renovating one of their offices and spending 7 figures on renovating the office. 7 figures. New window treatments. We're going to put the kiosks in, the teller line, we're going to be really modern up front, but they don't want a new website. So when we did the analysis came through, existing customers outnumbered the branch by about 250 to 300%. But the thing that really blew me away was customers, non-customers, people who walked in that may have wanted to open an account, outnumbered the branch traffic 863%. And this bank happened to have online account opening and online loan applications. So there were people coming in and they were doing digital marketing. And because of the digital marketing, it was driving people to the landing page and then to the website. And to shortchange your website's capabilities and even the way it looks, because that website represents your brand, your personality. It should be how it should look like you. You spend over $1 million to make sure your bricks and mortar looks nice, but people are afraid to spend $50, $60, $70,000 on a website that will last you 5 years, maybe if it's tweaked a little bit along the way. And I'm not trying to sell websites here, but the economies of a website and the performance of a website and what it drives to your bank is far outweighs a lot of times what your bricks and mortar are doing now. So to me, that's such an important piece of the pie going forward, that you need to have that piece in good shape before you can really be start heavily getting involved in the digital side, and a refreshed website is so important, or a new website, however you do it, but make sure it's attractive and easy to maneuver and navigate. Like Joann said, Amazon, maybe it's not that attractive, but I'll tell you, I can spend $50 on that website in less than 60 seconds. And I can't tell you how many times I've done it. But to me, that's another piece, because it's your online branch. It's not, it's not an online brochure. It is your branch, and it is your busiest branch.
Yep.
When you do it, and that's all combined. That's all those 4 branches combined.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think in the early days, websites were brochures, and
technology.
but they've moved so far beyond that, and it's up to us to teach that C-suite. If they don't realize it, it's up to us to have those conversations and to prove, using statistics like Jim just said, that more people are coming in that don't know us via the website than they will ever do walking into a branch, because it's just not done anymore, right? If they want a checking account, they're going to go see if you have an online account opening system. Maybe they walk in to do a transaction. Maybe they walk in for a more complex conversation with the banker. But for opening up a checking and savings account, they probably aren't. It's probably not the way that they're going to do it in the future.
If they learned about the offer that Joann was talking about at the beginning of this session, and they learned about it online, whether it was they saw it on a pay-per-click ad or a display ad in a magazine, online magazine, or however they may have seen it. Maybe it was an e-blast that you sent out to them, and they're going to click on it, and that click will take them to that landing page, probably, because you don't want to just drop them off in the middle of your website. You want to give them all the information and all the disclosure on that on that landing page, and then click on the landing page. It's going to take you to that website. And those new people who have never banked with you that are all excited about that offer, the first thing they're going to see about you is that landing page and your website. And that's the impression they're going to get. So if you send them to a dysfunctional website that doesn't really reflect who you are, they may start looking for another offer somewhere else because they can't even find how to get to online account opening. So it's really important. I know we're over time here, Joann, and I'm not sure. It seems like a lot of people are still hanging around. Anything else you want to add to this, or if there are any questions? I don't see any in the Q&A box, but more than happy to try to answer a few. But is there anything else you'd like to add before we end?
I think one of the things that I'd like to make sure we do say is that the future of banking is really marketing. And you need to position yourself to be able to have those conversations. Make sure that you're talking up through your C-suite, showing them what's really important and how to do it, because they don't know unless they come from a marketing background. They are reading something in a magazine, they are thinking about it, but you are the practitioners, and you are the people who have been studying it for the last eons of years. And it's important that you explain how to move forward in the future. We were talking earlier, Jim and I were talking earlier about what is a Rocket Mortgage? What is a Chime? It is an app. It's a call center. It's a marketing team and some accountants. That's the bank of the future, right? And we've got to position ourselves to be that, as well as continuing to focus on building communities, because there are communities that don't have a community bank and they suffer because a community bank isn't there. And it's really important that we continue to be there.
Yeah, you can do that hybrid approach. You've got the community behind you, and you also have the technology that will help you take care of the tech savvy and all those people who may not want to come in and talk to anybody. They just would rather stay home or be at the office, whatever, and opening accounts, what have you, and let them do it with you. Let's make what you have as attractive as these guys. And maybe it's not that attractive, but to us watching this or talking about it right now, but there's an awful lot of people who ran to those places or went online and opened accounts with those banks instead of opening them with you. So I hope this has been valuable. As you can tell, Joann and I are both passionate about community banking and about marketing and about return on investment, and showing people that not only are you an important cog in the overall organization, but you also can be a profit center and drive business. And so, again, if you have any questions or want to reach out to us individually, more than happy to speak with you. I just want to thank you all today. And Joann, I want to thank you. You've been phenomenal as always. And I really enjoyed our conversation, and looking forward to hearing back from everyone at some point. We'd love to hear some questions. Again, just drop us an email. Joann, what's your email address?
Well, it's jmarsili@fidelitybankonline.com, or you can connect with me via LinkedIn, which is probably easier. I'm easier to find that way than remembering how to spell my last name.
And I'm Jim Pannos. You can reach me on LinkedIn. It's Pannos, or you can email me at jpannos@pannosmarketing.com. Again, have a wonderful day. All right, marketers, let's go get them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.